back then, there weren't so many forms of cannabis. Either you were a stoner like Spicoli, or you were a paranoia, self-destroya kind of person that was freaked out, and that scared me. And then there were the too cool for school with the slit eyes that were also smoking on the corners. That was not appealing to me.
Happy December and welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. I'm sitting here with my co-host Farley. Thank you for tuning in. As we said last week, we are grateful for you. And we're coming off the holiday weekend. So for me, it was an absolute whirlwind. And for you,
it was a great whirlwind, but I'm exhausted. And it just happens to be the first day of snow in our hood. And I happen to be wearing an Après sweater for those that can see me. And I really feel like it could be a Après all day after the weekend I just came off of. That included a lot of alcohol and many festivities that were revolving around food and alcohol and fun and family. And yeah, so I need to detox and pray no way.
No, pray no way. My kids always call it the hangxiety that occurs after a weekend like we had. And not only did we have an incredible weekend with family, fun, and friends as well, but when everybody left, I had major depression when Jack got on the plane and left.
That's what alcohol does to you.
Your children leaving and moving back to where they live for full time.
Don't remind me.
And not seeing them for, I'm at 4 months. Farley's at 6.
Mackenzie went back to Australia is what she's referring to. And yes, I won't see her for 6 months. Yes, there was some depression in the air, but my battery definitely got recharged because I got to see her. I spent time with all kinds of family and friends, from celebrating the Buckeyes big win to just being with my daughter and having a high bye party because she came and left so quickly, to Thanksgiving, to seeing Stevie Nicks, to going to a Rangers game. It was a lot of fun.
It's definitely a jam-packed week. My kids were laughing because I have a chalkboard wall in my house. And we had the schedule and they were like, whoa, Mom, I think you overbooked us. And I was like, no. We're going to make very good use of every hour of every day. And that's what we did.
Our families went to the butcher's block together. We had a phenomenal meal.
Creating new holiday traditions when things change is part of what we're doing as we move into new junctures of our children's life. So I love that. And hopefully you did as well. But we talked about how much we consume. So we're going to get to the consumption and the alcohol and the enjoyment of all these new things, including THC for some people. But before we get to that, I think we're going to go to our top 3. Number 3, batshit with no bleep. Whoops. If you watched the Today Show, you saw that Scarlett Johansson manifested her Tourette syndrome.
Well, it slipped out. You know, batshit, the radar didn't go off because it didn't start with shit.
Yeah.
So the batshit kind of flew right under there. And Jenna Bush was like, uh-oh, I hope somebody caught that and bleeped it. Well, it was already out for public consumption. And I was happy to see it happen so accidental. It was comical that Jenna busted her and didn't laugh because she knows there's implications. Yeah. And Scarlett wasn't even phased.
No, she was laughing and probably didn't even think it was a bad word you can't use on the network because that shit is funny. But it reminds me of where somebody writes down sofa and king and they say, go ahead and say it.
Oh boy.
And you're like, sofa king.
Oh yeah.
Sofa king. Oh. And then your light bulb moment.
Yeah. Like prank calls. Yeah. I used to get that too. And it was like somebody's name, a Mike Hunt. Will Mike Hunt please come to the table? And I'm like, whoa, that went viral in my family for years.
Of course.
Yes.
That was very funny. And you can still get people with those. So
MikeHunt for those that are listening.
Yeah.
By the way.
So maybe that's how you get around the FCC, is to do fun stuff like that. Number 2. They say money doesn't buy happiness. And for some, it can't buy skin health either.
Yeah, I think that the affluent communities get themselves into more trouble because they can do so many things, from, too much Botox to too much plastic surgery to too much hygienic care, that now their autoimmune system is wacko because it can't fight off anything. And psoriasis is a big growing statistic in affluent communities. So sometimes problems arise.
It kind of likens the idea of how the monarchies and the aristocrats of yesteryear used to be incestual. Just something to think about at home.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1 for our traveling community: no real ID or passport. Pay up $45.
How the hell is that going to happen? I'm confused. Does everybody have an ATM debit card or $45 in their back pocket or a credit card? Or does that mean they're not going to bend the rules anymore? So just grease me publicly versus privately. I think people have been getting paid off and they came up with the $45 idea. They must have been still allowing people to travel on a driver's license after all of us scrambled to go get our real IDs.
And to me, this is not okay.
No,
it's wait a minute.
Where's that rule? $45 going to go?
What's the rule? And why are the rule followers of the world? You're listening to 2 of them. Why are we following the rules and running around like crazy people? And then somebody else gets a little caveat and all they have to do is pay $45. And what if you can't afford the $45? And what if you can't get a real ID appointment? Therein lies the problem.
What about the people that got turned away because they didn't have the real ID and their trip was a bust?
Yeah, I like I said,
this makes no sense. Somebody's pockets are getting deeper.
1,000.
We got to figure out where's the money trail going. That's a question for you guys out there.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't think we'll ever know.
20 years from now, we will. Maybe
if we're lucky. Well, if you're lucky, you have the opportunity to enjoy some fun times with family and friends. Now, doesn't always have to include alcohol or cannabis products, but let's be honest, it often does, at least in our collective circles.
Toasting has always been a tradition, holiday cheer. I think that the drinking has become so excessive. The culture where we live is grotesque. And I don't know why. I came from a place where people definitely drank, but it wasn't hard liquor. And it wasn't with the intention of getting blackout drunk every time we went out. I've got a lot of theories as to why. It could be that you're in an affluent community and it's easy come and you can buy it. It's fast acting. And
well, to Farley's point, not only is alcohol consumption on the rise, but these cannabis products have come out of nowhere.
Headline news recently is that Gen Z swaps alcohol for cannabis in rising California sober trend. We really want to get into this conversation because I am for taking something that makes me not want to drink as much. And also the next day, I don't have a hangover. I don't feel like I'm, stabbing my liver, but I don't want high schoolers or kids in college going in this direction because cannabis is a real drug. I feel the effects and shouldn't drive. And people are highly functioning cannabis partakers and they do it all day long and they're driving and working. And where do you draw the line? That's my real drawback here, besides the stereotype of a stoner.
Well, and if you looked at our thumbnail from our YouTube, traveling with alcohol and any kind of cannabis product is significantly different. So there's an ease of use that has to be factored into the transportation and usage of either of these things. So we're going to get into a little bit of a debate because both are becoming so much more prevalent in everybody's life.
And they're addictive. Both are addictive.
As you said, they're a drug.
Yeah,
they're a drug.
Both are a drug.
So I think it's a healthy debate to have. And hopefully we can have people listening think about what is good for you and what is good for your kids, because that's all we really care about.
I was not drugging in high school. I was not drugging in college at all. And by drugging, I mean pot. That was the only drug that I was aware of in high school. In college, obviously, there was more of a selection, but truly, I liken drugging to pot. I had no interest in it. Back then, there weren't so many forms of cannabis. Either you were a stoner like Spicoli, or you were a paranoia, self-destroya kind of person that was freaked out, and that scared me. And then there were the too cool for school with the slit eyes that were also smoking on the corners. That was not appealing to me, but I have become exposed later in life, which is what I'd like to go on record saying I'm a proponent for.
Well, you referenced your childhood. The legalization of marijuana is when?
Now.
When did it happen? It actually
it
happened
states,
state by state.
Yeah.
There's certain places it's still illegal.
When I was growing up, if you were caught with pot, was a felony.
It was a big deal. The teeniest bit.
Yes, I was
The
terrified
teeniest
of
bit.
people that were doing that. I didn't want to be affiliated with them. I didn't want to be guilty by association. I might have dated people that were partaking, and it made me think they were gross. I was very sheltered. I was an only child, and I was a goody two shoes.
Well, and it was also interpreted as lazy. Like you smoke pot, you sit on the couch, you watch TV,
You lose brain cells.
and you lose brain cells. So athletes
No,
in
no
high
good.
school, I'll say most of them were not doing marijuana because it was not thought to lead to enhancement of physicality.
Agreed.
However, the
People
other
can function on it though, that do it every single day, and it's their norm. Well, it's I know, but the problem is those are some really exceptional athletes, and maybe they had something that needed to be diagnosed.
Sure.
And the self-medicating has worked for them, and that's their normal.
Yeah. No,
and they're high performers. I don't know of a famous cool stoner that achieved success back when we were growing up in film.
When we grew up, the way it was touted, like don't do drugs, you're fry your brain on an egg with the egg, etc. It was interpreted as the gateway drug. And if you smoked marijuana, other things would lead to your demise. And that is a reality that I agree with. The difference between alcohol and marijuana in our generation was that because marijuana was illegal when we were kids.
Correct.
Now the kids are looking at them side by side.
Right.
And they are both coming into
as options. They have a choice.
And they're both legal.
And you can do both. And you can have both in one product, alcohol with THC or CBD, which scares me. So things have changed. I think we're evolving with the change on some level as we get older. I do not want to consume a ton of alcohol because I don't feel great. And now I know I don't have to forego having fun. And I don't mean that I need to drink to have fun by any means. But if I'm going to, well, if I'm going to socialize and we are going out, let's be real. It's nice to put your brain into a bit of an altered state. We live in our head 24/7 for the most part. And a lot of stressful things happen around us. And sometimes it's really nice to unplug. This helps me unplug. My mind's not going a mile a minute. Maybe I'm becoming creative, or maybe I feel funny, or maybe it gives people personality, makes them capable of talking more. I feel like it does all those things for me on some level. It just makes it not so much work to try to keep conversation going if you're in a situation where you don't know the person as well.
And you're talking about THC and alcohol, or?
I prefer THC. I have a little convenient roadie pack, which I can put in soda water. And I'm sure there's other brands. It looks like a vitamin C packet, but it's liquid. And then the can looks like a seltzer, like everybody else has. And it has 50 calories and is a social natural tonic. And I want to say it has 5 mgs.
Yeah, I think that's right.
0.5, I think, and this is 5. So basically, I feel as though if I wanted to be social, if I wanted to appear like I'm having a drink, I could have one of those beverages as an alternative to alcohol. And after one beverage, I feel a little bit altered happy, which is kind of my goal. So I don't have to continue on. I'm not trying to get blackout happy. I'm just trying to get out of my brain and enjoy myself and feel a little bit of a high.
Yeah, of course.
But a manageable high, because you know exactly what you're getting every single time if you are somebody that is a brand loyalist. And I haven't strayed from can, to tell you the truth. When I find out that something works for me or I like it, then I continue to go down that same path over and over.
And just curious, because do you find that you have to watch what you've eaten or going to eat? Like, do you feel like it hits you in a way that you have to manage that?
I think everybody is different. It depends on how much food you might have eaten during the day,
right?
How quickly your body metabolizes things. Sometimes I feel like I can have a can on a full stomach and it might not hit me for an hour and a half. So it's hard to gauge exact timing, which could be a problem. If you're, going somewhere and you have to drive home, or if you want it to happen immediately for you because you're about to walk into a concert.
Well, here's the little Girls Gone Gritty disclaimer. We want you to be gritty. We want you to be crazy. But if you've had a couple of cocktails or a couple of cans, take an Uber.
Oh, or a gummy.
Don't operate heavy or large machinery under the influence of anything.
There's no reason anymore.
There's not.
When we were growing up, there was no Uber. I did not live in an area where taxi cabs were coming to pick me up at 1:00 when the bar got out.
No, you got trapped. If you couldn't get a ride, if somebody didn't pick you up, you were trapped.
And if I was trapped, I was grounded forever and ever because I was an only child with a strict curfew. And yeah, that did not fly with my parents. But yes, we just want people to be responsible.
Absolutely.
And because there's so many options now and they're hard to understand, we are going to debate the positives of alcohol versus THC or CBD. CBD isn't something that's going to affect you.
Psychoactive. Non-psychoactive.
Psychoactive is THC. CBD, you can fix some things like anxiety and pain, and it has been proven to help in a lot of different directions, even with epilepsy, but so is THC. There's a lot of medicinal benefits. I personally became not a closet stoner, but an educated person that likes to consume THC when my mother was ill with cancer. And I was trying to help her alleviate her anxiety because her anxiety was actually worse than her cancer. It was awful. And we tried everything from anxiety medications to THC. And that was the first time that my mom's appetite became a little bit better. So it definitely helped her eat. And indica is known to do that versus sativa. I feel like sativa is the upper, it's energy, it's creative. If you want to go out and you want to wake up, this is your fun drug of choice. We'll call it a drug because it is. But in the same breath, you can get out of control. And that's where you have to experiment at home. And when you realize what it does to you, then you can venture out and bring your paraphernalia with you and do what you want to do on your own time, wherever you are.
That's the crazy thing. When you go to these dispensaries and you have a conversation, like, what's your goal? What's your why? How come you're taking it? Do you want to sleep? Do you want to this? Do you want to that? And I don't know that I've ever had that conversation with my liquor store. Did you ever walk into a liquor store and say, hey, you know what? I want to go out and I want to be really happy and I want to not fall asleep. Which alcohol would you recommend? They're like, any of them. And then follow-up question would be, what do you do with alcohol if you want to go to sleep? You can drink too much. There's your answer for both.
I feel like if you are an experienced drinker, then you know that sometimes a tequila buzz can be different than a vodka buzz.
Yeah, like sometimes somebody becomes like a leprechaun because they've drank the wrong liquor. Stay away from the brown.
Oh gosh, brown can become aggro. I know in my family, tequila, it can take the roof off of a house. It makes everybody go up. And there are definitely some Debbie Downer types of alcohol that can make you immediately get a headache. Sometimes if I have too much sugar on any level, and alcohol does come with sugar in it, can give me a bad hangover. So you have to find what kind your body likes. And then you have to also know when to say enough's enough.
You know, it's funny. I'm going to go into Little Silver Bottle Shop and ask them.
What makes you happy?
Yeah, like I'm going to say,
Fireball.
I am looking for, and see what they hand me. Yes, they might hand you a little baby Fireball, which is delicious, by the way.
With the devil on it.
It's amazing.
It is.
And
fresh breath.
It's
very cinnamony, like a atomic fireball.
I don't have this conversation with my kids enough about alcohol. We've talked about the potency of THC. There is an obvious potency to the different liquor that you have. I know that, but I don't know that we remind ourselves of that. So, you know, how much liquor is in a glass of wine? Like 4 to 6%, they say. And then beer is like 4 to 16%, and alcohol is like 20 to 60%.
And now you have these seltzers that have like triple the amount.
Correct.
Beer that has triple the amount.
Correct. And then it's infused with THC and you're really off to the races.
And on that note, if we're just talking about seltzers versus alcohol, I feel like they're much easier to manage. When you start getting into gummies and edibles that a lot of kids could find appealing, make sure that if you are partaking in any of these types of things, that you keep them out of reach of kids, because the packaging, as I'm sure some of you saw, what kid isn't going to be attracted to this meltdown chocolate bar? It would make me want to get into it as fast as I could if I was a kid.
Actually, the packaging is unbelievable. And that's the part about the industry that you're suspect on. The packaging is appealing to youth. Like
This could be
packaging,
like from a, somebody, a hippie from back in the
yeah.
day.
I mean,
We're
maybe
gonna
they
get
may,
through the 70s.
maybe they are. Maybe they're appealing to the Grateful Dead. That does look Grateful
It's a
Dead.
little bit of everything.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I take that back.
Well, no,
Maybe we are all children anyway.
well, I do think that they gear these gummies and edibles towards kids because they want it to taste good. They want us to think that we're going to eat something that's watermelon like a Jolly Rancher. So it's profitable. I tried to open this earlier. I can't even open it. And I use scissors to cut off the top and it is Ziploc closed. So I'm happy if I took scissors and I cut around the edge, I would get into it very easily, which is what I think kids must have to do unless the packaging is already open. Somebody cut it. It's ripped. It's easily accessible. But you really have to make sure that kids and animals do not come into contact with these edibles.
Definitely not.
Or the seltzers. Don't put your seltzers
True.
that have THC in an area where your teenagers or your college students think that they're grabbing some seltzer that they don't know the name of. The cans look the same. The names are attractive, and everybody in the world is coming out with a seltzer right now. I know High Noon and Surfsides and things like that, but I might not know the higher end ones that have more alcohol in it.
Yes.
And so therefore I might go for that nondescript looking can that I don't recognize and whammo.
And you don't know what the potency is.
Yes.
So it comes back to read your labels. You know,
Yes.
don't consume without being thoughtful. But that's the problem is that after you've had one of these, you're not thinking anymore on a lot of levels.
Very true.
You're in the moment enjoying it, and you had one and you liked it, and you'll have another. And post-COVID numbers, we know that both of these two sales of products went
to the
insane.
moon.
And how they hit the different demographics is interesting. The 40 to 50-year-old age group, the amount of alcohol consumption post-COVID has gone up 40%.
Oh.
And meanwhile, the trends are similar, the opposite way in the 20 to 30 realm of drinking. They're drinking less.
They're much more conscientious about working out. And it's so on trend for girls to do Pilates, and everybody's taking a class because it's trendy to be photographed at your class and then with your coffee. So the Gen Zers, they're moving away from alcohol. And to be quite honest, I think one of my pro arguments in the THC direction is it doesn't necessarily make you fat.
Unless you get the munchies.
I think you can order up one that doesn't give you the munchies, and you could say, I want to be creative and funny, but I don't want to have the munchies. And the strains that they've produced, which is really crazy when you think about it, you can kind of pick what you want. So I'm sure there's probably a non-munchy strain that exists out there. I'm not quite sure, but Beer Belly is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You can definitely be a power shower if you're stoned, but I think the younger generation, they're much more into themselves. They really are.
But it's also an economic factor. It's not just, it's a globally recognized thing that's happening all over. So don't feel bad. It's kids are getting old, married later. Kids are focusing on their careers. There's a lot of factors on that. But
very true. What
I will say is that the volume of alcohol for the older demographic went up. The volume of cannabis went up. So post-COVID, we saw an uptick in American consumption.
Right.
Which I think we have to recognize as a culture to be very careful of this reward habit situation where you're constantly looking for the validation of something to give you a reward. And that's the consumer. That's the same, like as the consumer model, right? So I think that alcohol has less likelihood of that cyclical need.
I've seen alcoholism take people's lives. And I'm not saying that drugging hasn't ruined lives, but being an alcoholic, it's a real disease.
I agree with that.
It physically impairs you on top of damaging your organs. Your liver is a big problem. Your kidney is a big problem. I've read from THC, there's something going on now called SCROMEDY with a C, SC. If somebody is self-medicating with pot, they're doing it 4 times a day. Scromedying has become a new thing where people are vomiting and screaming because they're in such pain at the same time because they're overdoing the THC intake. You become a sponge, and all of a sudden, all of that THC
hits your gut, and you're throwing up because of it hitting your gut.
You
Is
know,
that why?
They're saying that you've held on to too much, that you have a toxic level. So you can't think that if you're ingesting a cute little gummy that there's not residue, you can't see it because
Right.
you're ingesting it. You're not smoking it. You're not looking at the aftermath. You're ingesting it. So all that stuff has to build up somewhere, somehow. Maybe these people are power smokers. I don't know. I think there's so many different ways that you can ingest it and take it now. But scrometing scares the crap out of me
Well,
because
I'm
I don't like
happy.
to vomit.
I'm happy people scrum it though, because it's what happens with too much alcohol intake.
This
or
lasts 3 days and you puke at least 30 times, and people feel like they have to be hospitalized because they feel like they're dying.
Oh yeah, but
That's
at least it's the body expelling a toxin. Like when you throw up, if you've drank too much and you scrum it,
yes.
right? Like it's the body saying, bye bye, this is toxic. So neither one has got to be good for you, because if you take it to the extreme, getting outside, breathing air, and
Too
looking
much
at
of
the sun,
anything
except for that I just said, except for going outside, breathing, and getting some sunshine,
Yeah.
that there is never too much of that.
True. It's
Unless
true.
you're not wearing sunscreen and you're looking at the light.
Okay. We are going to discuss the pros and the cons, the benefits of, each vice that we are debating here.
And she's going to say the pro, and I'm going to say my pro.
Well, I'm taking the lesser of the two. I'm doing CBD versus THC.
Oh, you know what, Far? You know what? Can you explain to me? I don't understand the difference between CBD and THC. I know the uses, and I know one's more legal, but from a use and practicality standpoint, why would I use one versus the other? What's the difference?
CBD is legal in 50 states. It's something that can be used medicinally. It can be in a salve and you can rub it on your aching body parts. It's a non-psychoactive. I don't even know if I would call it a drug, but I guess it is a drug that comes from cannabis.
But it's the more readily legal.
It's a neuroprotective. Yeah. It's an anticonvulsant. It's an antioxidant. It helps with psychotic behavior. It helps with anti-inflammation, anti-tumoral, and there's no side effects. It's considered very safe. Some people might get confused thinking that it is bad for them and it's addictive, and it has the components of THC that are negatives. The one drawback is that it's very hard to measure it, so you don't know the correct CBD percentage in anything that you're using. So that's one question mark, but you can't overdose on it. So what's the difference if you have 40% CBD or 32% CBD?
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
I'm not really sure, so I scratched my head on that. You can get it over the counter anywhere, pretty much. It's harmless. The negative is if you're using CBD religiously as an ointment, you're rubbing it all over your body as a salve for anti-inflammation. Sometimes people have tested positive for THC because there are small traces of THC in CBD and there's no way to really prove it. So that's probably the biggest drawback, but I think it's rare.
Okay.
So it's more medicinal. It's more homeopathic. It has been linked to helping some major issues without having to go into heavy drugs.
Got it. Right. So it's a form of they're both form of cannabis.
Yes.
And they just work in different ways on the body.
THC is psychoactive, but people want to get out of their bodies and their minds. And so that's what actually helps them.
They want the mental high.
They do. They want to be able to relax. It's a relaxant. They want an appetite stimulant. They're hybrids, which is something that I didn't explain because it's kind of hard to explain. But if it's a hybrid, it has both indica and sativa. I would give my mother sativa if we had doctor's appointments and she needed energy and I need her to get up and know that we were going to leave the house and that she would have enough energy to do that because it took a lot. If I gave her that in the morning, a sativa, then she might not be able to come home and nap right after, say, she got chemo. So I would give her indica sativa hybrids. And that would be where it would made her relax, but she had energy. And when she came home, she might have had all this energy, but then she'd say, okay, I'm going to tell my brain that now it's time to relax. And that hybrid would allow the indica to prevail. So it's really your mind telling the hybrid what mood you're in now and how you want to feel.
Yeah. So you have to formulate what you're taking in order for it to be utilized the way you want.
And you have to tell yourself, I'm taking a hybrid, so I'm looking for energy because I need to get through this morning. And then when I come home, I want to unplug and I don't want to feel like I can't close my eyeballs.
Right.
So it is something that you have to believe in. I do believe it's psychosomatic as well. And like I said before, you have to have brand integrity. So if you're trying all different brands, they're not all going to be the same. They have different formulations, different percentage numbers. So that's why I really try to kind of stick with what I know. And if I am unable to get what I know and I have to go in a different direction, then I will assess things under my own roof before I go anywhere. You just never know how you're going to respond until you try it. And maybe you try it more than once to understand how it reacts to your body. The way I feel on it might not be the way you feel on it.
Right.
Which is also, you can't take everybody's word for it. Oh, this is going to be that, and you're going to love this, and it's going to last this long. It's not the same high. Yeah. Everybody's high is their own high because you're your own person. You have your own chemistry and you react the way your body reacts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know how I react on alcohol.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, though. That's also because we have a history with alcohol.
Right.
I mean, ancient civilizations used alcohol. Europe was born on alcohol. The earliest they date back is like 3000 BC. That means our ancestors all had some sort of alcohol in their system genetically. So if everybody in their lineage has had some form of alcohol, we have some tolerances for it that are inherent. What we did in the prohibition years is kind of like what we did with marijuana. There was a period in the 1920s where alcohol was becoming illegal, and it was mostly because of religious fighting and a lot of issues, but it also created a ton of problems and actually created the modern day mafia because there were people that were trafficking alcohol. And that happened in marijuana.
What's still happening. Every time I turn around, a big giant thing of marijuana washed up on a beach. It's a lot of different things, but so it is the gateway drug. I do think it is the gateway.
Yeah. And I do think that society has identified that all of these addictive things need some controls.
It's called self-control.
Well, but here's the thing. What's happening with THC and how it came to be is a funny loophole. In 2018, that was a hemp exemption. The product of hemp that's used for clothing, it's used in production, it's used in manufacturing, it's used in a lot of things. There was a loophole that was opened in 2018, and that's why the boom of all of these THC products happened. And for those of you that are enjoying these things, 2026 November stalemate that we had in our government, there was a provision in that bill that everybody signed, but by loophole. And all of these beverage companies, all of our THC companies are scrambling because they don't have the power that the alcohol lobbyists have. All of the major retailers of cannabis products are trying to get a foothold because what Anheuser-Busch and Molson and some of these bigger alcohol companies did was they're noticing they're buying up some of the better THC businesses. There is no legal overreach right now on marijuana products. It's state by state. So what they did with this bill, for those of you that are investing in cannabis products or anything CBD, they're closing the 2018 Farm Act that opened up the loophole to create this industry. And I think it's big alcohol recognizing that they're in direct competition and they are taking out all the little guys.
Well, I think we've tackled the differences between CBD, THC, and alcohol.
Yeah. And I think anything in moderation, you can come up with a whole bunch of health benefits for alcohol. Like they say, there's reduced heart disease, type 2 diabetes. It prevents against cognitive decline. Obviously, the old adage of have a little bit in moderation, I think is a good thing. There's benefits to alcohol. It's why it's been used for a really long time in human history.
Well, I think that we understand that CBD is approved by the Food and Drug Administration, and it's very helpful with epilepsy and seizure prevention. And it also has been linked to helping people get off of opioids. So I do think CBD is a no-brainer. I think THC, you have to be educated and you have to experiment.
But to your point about your mom, and for everybody who's had a medical marijuana card before it was legalized, if the American Medical Association puts their seal on something because they see the health benefits, they don't do that lightly, especially when people are dealing with really difficult things like cancer. So to me, we say it all the time, where there's smoke, there's fire. If they say, yes, it's okay for these benefits, then other people can benefit from those benefits that don't have the
cancer,
exact same,
etc. You know, they're
diagnosis.
not self-medicating because of the
Correct.
pain that they are in from like a terminal illness or a
Right.
injury.
Right.
I do understand the gateway drug situation. Yep. We just have to consume responsibly. And obviously we've been saying that for years with alcohol, but it's the same with THC products, gummies, drinkable seltzers, all of it.
But what we do want you to heavily consume, and thank you for your overconsumption, is this podcast. So make sure you like and subscribe, pass it on to your friends, and keep us going here on Girls Gone Gritty, because we really like talking about fun, gritty things. But before we do any more, what I need to know is who is our Got Grit winner.
I think our Got Grit winner, once again, is a creative Got Grit award recipient. Instead of it being necessarily one person, it's two people that thought of it. So yes, I am indirectly giving them the Got Grit award. But because we have such depressing headlines 24/7, the goodnewsnetwork.org was founded in 1997 by Jerry Weiss Corbally, who was a former broadcast news producer. Obviously, she knew how depressing news was, and she came up with this movement. The goodnewsnetwork.org was a website that concentrated on only happy, upbeat, positive headlines, which I really appreciate. So it was her original thought. And then the Good News movement came about in 2020 by Michelle Figueroa. She's a journalist, and she launched an Instagram account that would only feature positive, heartfelt, good news stories that would go viral and try to combat the negative headlines that we are so used to seeing every time we read, turn on the TV. There are really good things happening out there. There are still very good human beings. I would suggest that you do this every single day. If you want to read a good story, go to the goodnewsnetwork.org, subscribe to the Good News movement on your Instagram so that your feed shows up with positivity.
Oh, I love that. My sister-in-law, little shout out to her. She tried to do this a bunch of years ago with Good People Rule. And I love getting to know some story that doesn't touch your life, but when you read about it or watch it, it does.
I could not applaud them more. It's so necessary, so needed.
All right. And with that, now I'll bring you our song of the week. Take a deep breath, drink water. You know these streets are loud. Calm down. Wherever you feel like you might drown. Oh, just calm down.
I don't know it, but I love the lyrics.
John Baptiste, drink water. So on that note, I want to remind you before we conclude our topic, because we didn't talk about it at all and it was driving me crazy. Don't forget to drink water if you're having your THC drinks or you're drinking alcohol, because that will help you save a hangover, save your liver, and hopefully elongate your time out with your friends and your family.
I feel very thirsty at the moment, so I'm going to go get a glass of water.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Girls Gone Gritty. Peace out.
See you next week.